Hey guys, in this video we're going to go over how to use the Dremel as well as how to use the starter bits and burrs it comes with. This video is for very beginners, so for those of you who have had one for a while, this probably isn't for you, but you can go check out my channel to see more intermediate and advanced tutorials. So let's go over the basics. This is the Dremel 4300. Most models will be pretty similar to this one. At the top there's a chuck that tightens around an 1/8 inch accessory that you're using. If you flip the switch on, it'll rotate clockwise if the tool is pointed away from you. So keep in mind the spin direction, as that'll help you safely brace the tool while you use it. At the bottom we have a wheel to change the RPM. You can rotate it from 5,000 to 35,000 RPM on this model. If the tool is on and running, you can actually still change the RPM without turning it off. Most Dremel kits will come with some accessories. Mine came with a wrench, a cutting piece, some polishing wheels with compound, sanders, engravers, and saws. To change the accessory on the Dremel, you'll have to loosen the chuck. The chuck spins freely, so you need to press the little lock button on the top of the tool to keep it in place. While you're holding the lock button down, loosen the chuck with the wrench, unscrew it, change the accessory, and then retighten the chuck. And make sure it's well secured with the wrench. Also make sure the accessory is at least half an inch or so into the chuck. Don't ever push the lock button down while the Dremel's running. You'll hear this terrible sound and it can really grind up the inner gears. This model has an easy twist, meaning the cap at the end can unscrew and be pulled off of the chuck. This is so you don't need the wrench, as by aligning the teeth on the easy twist to the sides of the chuck, you can loosen or tighten the chuck. You might have to keep the wrench around anyways because some of the accessories require a small screwdriver to modify them. This includes the sawing accessory, which has a screw you have to fully remove to secure a saw blade onto it. This also includes the sanding drum, which you have to partially unscrew to remove the old sandpaper and replace it with new sandpaper. The final thing the wrench is used for is to remove the caps on the brushes, but you won't need to do that for a while if your Dremel's new. I have a video on how to do that if you want to check it out or watch it in the future. And it might be worth checking your Dremel's brushes if it is old. Let's talk safety. I never used to wear anything, and I'm sure that was terrible for me. Sawdust is carcinogenic, and it goes without saying that you don't want to inhale metal, glass, plastic, or anything else you're working on. Even if you can't see or smell the dust in the air, it's there. I used to wear an N95, but now I wear this P100. I also wear safety glasses. Dust can be really bad for your eyes, and I've also had occasions where wood chips fly up and hit my mask or my glasses. I've even had the red saw blade on the right blow up, where it shot shrapnel all over the room, so wear safety glasses. Okay, let's do some work. For basically every accessory, I hold the Dremel like a pencil with the weight on my hand. Hold it really tight and don't cover the vents on the sides of the tool. The first accessory we're starting with is the 191 Engraver. For wood, I've carved between 20,000 and 25,000 RPM. Hold the piece you're engraving tightly with one hand and engrave with the other. This accessory is pretty easy to handle. Next we have the 561 cutting tool. This can cut all sorts of material. I'll be cutting wood with it, also at 20,000 RPM. You can carve with it going right to left, but keep in mind this tool is dangerous, so make sure you have a good grip on it. I've only cut myself a few times with the Dremel, and every single time it's been from this accessory. It's a lot safer to not try and bite too much wood off at once, so go smaller and with slower strokes. This accessory is great for cutting most materials. You can quickly carve right through a piece of wood just with a few overlapping strokes. For the sanding drum attachment, I run it at 15,000 RPM, which is pretty slow, but I find the sandpaper lasts longer at slower speeds, and you get more control with what you're sanding. Some people also like using the coarser grits on the sanding drum to carve, which I've shown here. This is a silicon carbide bit here, which I use to engrave metal, glass, and stone. We're back up to 25,000 RPM for this one. I somehow didn't get film for this one, but it lightly scores the material, similarly to the accessory I'll show next. This is another little grinder, but it's cylindrical, so you can grind more material at once. I'll be using 20,000 RPM. A lot of people use this accessory to put new edges onto their blades, so here I'm basically doing that onto a stainless steel ruler. You can also etch with it similarly to the first tool. Or you can grind off large portions of material quickly. Onto the saws. This red blade is a lot weaker than the reinforced one. It's also the one that blew up on me, so I'm going to be using the reinforced one. Here I'm cutting an aluminum rod. It's really fast, but don't hold the metal directly as it gets really hot. This wire brush attachment is really good for polishing surfaces such as metal. I turn it way down to like 10,000 RPM so that the bristles last longer. Here I'm removing the oxidation off an old penny, which is removed really quickly with this attachment. This brush will leave scratches on soft metal though, so keep that in mind. If you don't want scratches, just use the polishing wheels. You can screw it right onto the shank, and then you're ready to go. I'm setting the Dremel to 15,000 RPM for this one. So rub a liberal amount of polish onto the brush while the Dremel is off, and then get polishing. This worked really well on the penny and didn't leave a scratch. For a couple last pieces of advice, keep in mind that the Dremel is a high-speed, low-torque rotary tool, so don't treat it like a low-speed, high-torque power drill. You want to use the speed in your favor and let the tool do the work. Don't force the tool or press too hard on what you're working on, since that'll probably cause it to overheat and even ruin the motor over time. If you're unsure what RPM to use, or you're not certain what each accessory is for, every Dremel will come with a user manual that lists the available accessories and their function. And it also lists the RPM for each one depending on the material that you're working with. Well guys, thanks for watching. If you want to get into wood carving and check out how I made these carvings, check out my channel. I have plenty of projects even beginners can follow along with. If you have any questions or comments, leave one below. We'll see you next time.